RFK Jr. has just been sworn in.
On my knees and prayed that God would put me in a position where I can end the childhood chronic disease epidemic in this country. On August 23rd of last year, God sent me President Trump. All right. And he gave me He's now given me, he's kept every promise that he's made to me. He's kept his word in every account and gone way beyond it. I'm so grateful to you, Mr. President. A lot of people told me that I couldn't trust President Trump. I better get it in writing. And we did a handshake, and everything that he told me he was going to do, he has done.
So, this is really interesting. I was totally not supporting Trump or anybody else except for RFK. A year ago, I was RFK all the way. I was going to his rallies and supporting him for petitions for to become the president of the United States. I did not think he could win, but I knew there was a movement. I didn't know what the movement was called. Um, but I knew it was a movement, and I was thinking maybe, maybe in 12 years or 20 years, like the movement will get big enough that it'll elect a president, and that president will, put people in the departments of health and human services and clean out the corruption in the CDC and all this crazy stuff, nonsense that is making everybody die, and if they're not dead, they're sick and just barely hanging on, or 60 or 70% of us, anyways. Um, so, and the interesting thing happened, like, so our human little brains can only think about, okay, this is the best case scenario I can think of, but then God just says, hold my beer, and He just does something that's infinitely better than you could even a plan that you could even think up. So it's an interesting thing is that every time I go to visit my in-laws, I take the family to the Philippines every 2 or 3 years, and every time we leave the United States and we go to the Philippines, something crazy happens, and it always happens in the middle of the night for us because the time is opposite because it's on the opposite side of the world. So we're asleep in the Philippines, and something crazy happens, and my wife is like when I'm just barely waking up, and she's like, "Hey, did you see that thing? I just saw it on Facebook that just happened." I'm like, "No, I don't go on Facebook. Like I only go on Facebook like once or twice a month." And she said, "So this is the previous time we were there. This is like years ago. Um, 2 times ago to the Philippines." And she's like, "I'm like, what happened? What happened? What's going on?" And she's like, "This is crazy, but Will Smith just slapped Chris Rock on stage at the whatever it was, the Academy Awards." And I'm like, "No, no, no, that's just AI. That's just people, trolling the internet." And she's like, "No, no, it really did happen." And I was like, "This is crazy." And that I thought that was the craziest thing that could ever happen. And then this past summer, we went back to the Philippines and visited our in-laws, so that because every time we have a kid, we got to go we go in. I mean, not have to, but we want to go and see all the in-laws and let them meet the new kid, the new member of their family. And this past summer, um she's like, "Hey, did you see what just happened?" I'm like, What could it be this time?" She's like, "President Trump just got shot." And I'm like, "No, no way, this could not be real." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, he got shot. Not only did he get shot, but he survived." And then all of a sudden, he stands up and he tells everybody to fight back, fight back. Don't let him keep you down. And little kids in different countries were like acting it out as a skit and everything. It was just crazy. And then all of a sudden, all these people who were Democrats who were against Trump, like RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, these people who are just like movement leaders in the world. Joe Rogan, even eventually, the night before the election, came on to his side. But it was just crazy. Like I never could have dreamed this up. It was like it's like a real life, Avengers gathering right in front of our eyes, like for real. And all these people are key players, and so RFK is the one that I've been supporting him, and I would vote. I only wanted to vote for him, and I only voted for Trump because RFK told me he went on the YouTube and he said, "Hey, vote for Trump, everybody. It's gonna work out good. Trust me." And so I did, and here he is, the most powerful man in the world in the field of health, and I could never imagine this happening. This is just awesome. And I don't know if I've told anybody this yet, but I actually met RFK Jr. Last summer when he was running for president. I was at his rally to petition to get, signatures from the public to get him on the ballot in Colorado, in Aurora, Colorado. And I shook hands with him and met him. Here's a little video.
Video, just it's already rolling. Just point it.
So I was just one of hundreds of people he met that day. He's so awesome. He's the best, the most generous, caring person, and he's the only one that has enough influence and also the will and the courage to fight for the health of our children and our future generations, because we've dropped the ball on these past one or two generations. It just vastly let them down. And also the same day, later that day, I got to meet my second hero. So I got to meet both of my heroes in one day. So I got RFK Jr. and then I got to meet Del Bigtree.
I'm here with my hero, Del Bigtree, at the RFK Jr. rally in Aurora, Colorado.
So that was cool. That was a good day. And actually, this is me arriving on that scene. I met this other guy. Just he was handing out pins for people to wear.
Hi everybody, I'm here at the RFK Jr. rally, the first one to get signatures to put him on the ballot to become the President of the United States in November. I'm here with my friend Eddie.
Hello.
He's passing out pins for RFK
Yes,
Jr.
exactly.
Flying
Flying the flag today.
There's a lot of people out here like counteracting that are for Trump or Biden, trying to ruin the rally and spoil it, but
Is there really an
we're here. We got a Cybertruck here, Eddie's Cybertruck. This is awesome. I haven't.
So that was a really fun day. Um, so yeah, and here we are. Just a few hours ago, he was sworn in as Secretary of Health and Human Services, with just in the best position possible to get rid of this corruption in our health system. We've been praying, me and my family, and so many people have been praying for this day, for something like this to happen, for probably almost 15 months now, every day, and God answers prayer. And some interesting things came out of his hearings in the Senate, and it was really contentious. But this was a really cool moment that I just want to replay.
Senator Paul.
I think the discussion over vaccines is so oversimplified and dumbed down that we never really get to real truths, and it's why people up here are so separated from real people at home. So we talk about hepatitis B. It's a terrible disease. It could lead to liver failure, as the chairman said. But the reason you have distrust from people at home, why they don't believe anything you say, they don't believe government at all, is you're telling my kid to take a hepatitis B vaccine when he's 1 day old. You get it through drug use and sexually transmitted. That's how you get hepatitis B. But you're telling me my kid has to take it at 1 day old. That's not science. And so every person with a bit of common sense, even people who don't resist vaccines, I vaccinated all my kids. I believe vaccines are one of the modern miracles beyond all pale. The Speckled Monster is a great book about the introduction of the smallpox vaccine in 1720 into our country. All miracles. But I'm not a one-size-fits-all. It's not all or nothing. I chose to wait on my hepatitis B vaccine, and we did it when they went to school. Does that make me an awful person? Does that make me an anti-vaxxer?
So he makes a lot of good points. I don't agree with everything he says, but that's the whole point. That's why Elon Musk said we can't censor the public. We need to have open debate. We should be able to look into what studies have been done on which vaccines, and I'm going to tell you in a few minutes, just we'll get to it, the whole reason why vaccines are studied differently than other medicines or any food or anything. And there's a law, and that's the whole reason why this is happening for the last 40 years. Um, but I'll just briefly go over for people who haven't seen the other episodes of my podcast, Crazy Parents Podcast, on Spotify or YouTube until they take it down. Um, I'll just go over quickly my son's story. So he was developing perfectly normal. He was accelerated in every aspect. Um, he was just a beautiful, healthy baby boy all the way up till 12 months old. Here's a little video of him, and his mom is just kind of going on the computer and Facebook or something and teasing him with a toy. And he's just responding to it so silly. He's so in tune with what's going on. He was like that his first 12 months of his life. All you have to do is kind of make eye contact with him and tease him a little bit, and he'll just go nuts, and he'll really respond in a human connection way. Until and then on the 12th month, he started to get a bunch of vaccines that I now know a lot about that I would not have had him got the shots. I would not have him get all that stuff, maybe not even any of them, if I knew what I know now, or the hundreds and hundreds of hours of research I've done in the last 15 months. So after those vaccines, he had that one day. Every time he has like this big batch of vaccines, like there's one at 12 months, then one at 15 months, I think, or 18 months, and crazy amount. Like some vaccines have 3 vaccines in one vial, so he could be getting like 10 vaccines in one day for a little baby that's not even 1 year old yet. You got to be kidding me. And then after that, he just started going downhill. He's not, no, for the next 3 years, he did no brain acceleration, no brain growth. Like everything, it was just, it's like he was looking off into space. He would almost never make eye contact with anybody. He was just like in his own world, just staring off into who knows. Like he's in there, but his body's there, but his mind is totally on a different planet, and it's just like despondent. Very rarely smiled, and almost never laughed. Just did not make a human contact and connection. He was just kind of off in his own world. We do take him everywhere, do everything just like a normal family, but his brain just stopped. He just got lost in somewhere, and then he stopped playing with normal toys, stopped playing with balls, stopped playing with blocks, stopped playing with this mini laptop that he loved to type on. He even like wanted to take over our computers when we were working from home during the COVID lockdown. And then he stopped playing with all those toys, and he started playing with weird things like little pieces of trash and cords and just weird things, like not normal things. And he would just like to see how they would spin and what noises they would make. And I mean, it's kind of interesting. I'd like to see what's going on in his mind, but it wasn't the same. He wasn't on the same planet. He was just somewhere else after those vaccines. And this is a video of a couple months after those big vaccine push. It's like when he's 14 or to 15 months old. And his mom tries to tickle him and tries to get his attention. And he's just totally not making eye contact, does not care, is not interested in what other people are doing after that. We lost him. He was lost. I don't know where he was. And then I started making a podcast, and I started getting a lot of responses from, mostly from my sisters that a lot of them are nurses, and some of them are just really health nuts, whatever you want to call them. There's lots of names for them, but they're just awesome people, and other people too, our friends, my wife's friends, and people, Bible study people from Michigan, and just giving us tips like, hey, try this, and we keep trying everything. As long as it's healthy, it's not based on something that is harmful, but just keep adding more healthy stuff. Like we give him cod liver oil for his DHA, omega-3 fatty acids to help his brain reduce inflammation and keep everything, the activity of his brain functioning well. Then we got barley juice extract we give him every day. Give him a super multivitamin with lots of extracts from fruits and vegetables, just in case we still eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, but every day. But we also take multivitamins on top of that just to make sure he's getting all the nutrients in. And then, but then one of my sisters gave this tip about a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, and then I looked into it and researched it, and I've seen people talk about. Saw Joe Rogan talk about how good it is. I saw a lot of fighters talk about how good it is for recovery, and then I saw studies, and that these some of my other podcast episodes where they had a study with kids with cerebral palsy, and they had four groups of kids. One, they didn't do any hyperbaric chambers treatments, and then the other three groups they did hyperbaric treatments with different levels of oxygen. And the ones that had the hyperbaric treatments where their brain function was accelerating and healing their brains 3 times faster than the cerebral palsy kids the ones that had cerebral palsy that did not use the hyperbaric chamber. So we bought it. We did a GoFundMe, um, and we got a loan, and so that the GoFundMe is helping us pay back the loan, and so we don't go bankrupt or whatever. Maybe we still will. Who knows? It's just all in God's hand. We're doing the best we can, and people have donated so much and prayed. Hundreds of people praying every day. It's just like crazy, awesome. And so we started doing the treatment, and here I'll just show you a video I made the first day we started doing treatments.
Today, we're doing an experiment. We're starting treatment, hyperbaric oxygen therapy for Kale Joshua Garno. The date is August 22nd, 2024. Kale is 4 years, 1 month, and 5 days old at this moment. He has never been able to talk. It's very difficult for him to do anything because of the lack of brain development since after he got vaccinated when he was 12 months old. Before that, he had perfect development for his age, and then it stopped and declined. So we've been doing supplements, vitamins, speech therapy, and exercises for him for the last 3 years. But today we're going to start doing hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So, Kale, are you ready to do the treatment? Huh? How are you doing today, Kale? Did you have a good day? Huh?
Now I want to just break in here and tell you that I know kids are humans, and that humans have different moods. They can be angry, they could be melancholy, they could be excited. And yes, Kale does have those moods, and he had those before, but it's like almost all the time, he's just like this, totally despondent, non-responsive, doesn't make eye contact. I just want you to realize that this is not a mood he's in. This is his normal state for 3 years straight.
Huh? Yeah? Did you just eat dinner? Huh? Hello. Hello. Okay, Kale, let's go look at the machine. We're gonna go in here in a few minutes. So this machine is the...
You can see our door is cut open because the machine didn't fit through the door.
Hello.
So I had to smash the door.
Hello.
It's hard to see it.
Okay, Kale,
I
let's go
can't
look at the
pause it on the right
machine.
moment, but I had to smash a hole in our house to get the machine in because it was so big, and then I replaced the door with a bigger door.
We're gonna go in here in a few minutes. So this machine is the Macy Pan 2202 because it has two atmospheres of pressure, which is the medical grade. Um, and that's what all the medical experiments were done with a bunch of children that had cerebral palsy. I realized I was going to do a soft chamber, but I realized soft chambers in the United States are regulated to only go up to 1.3 atmospheres. So I tried to look up to see how much it cost for a 2.0 atmosphere hyperbaric chamber in the United States, and it was $140,000 for the cheapest one. So we went and got one in Japan, excuse me, not Japan, China. We ordered it from China. It came over on a ship, and we had to pay all the high taxes and tariffs and all that stuff. But it still was under $30,000 for a chamber that would have cost us $140,000 if we would have bought it in the U.S. So for the same rating, and I wanted to do the same medical rating that improved the children that had cerebral palsy because I believe he has brain damage, which is similar to that. So we're about ready to start his first treatment. I've already tested the chamber myself for the last week, almost every day. I've been going in it myself, making sure all the electronics work. The oxygen creator is right here. This is the cooling unit that cools the air because it gets hot if you don't have a cooling agent, a cooling machine. It'll be way too hot in there. Hey, don't grab that now. Leave it alone. And then that bigger unit is what makes creates the pressure. So you have 3 units: pressure, oxygen, and cooling. And then this is just a giant tank that's solid steel, but including the plexiglass door to let you in, and you can also see through it. And then you have an electronic panel that shows all your pressure, oxygen, humidity, and temperature inside the chamber. And you can set the timer, and you can also see the pressure and set some of the things from the inside. And also there's a emergency valve, emergency pressure release valve, and a regular pressure release valve that slowly releases it. And they both can be functioned from the inside or the outside. So in any kind of emergency, a few seconds, you can be out of that thing. So we've done a lot of research on it for the past several months, and it took a few months for it to be shipped here once we paid for it. So we're really thankful that all this worked out. We believe that this is going to help substantially.
So, what's interesting is that when I started looking up to find which hyperbaric chamber we wanted to buy, I kept seeing these ones that were, a lot less than $140,000. They were like between 35 and $50,000. But I kind of noticed that, I'm a visual thinker, and I kind of noticed they all kind of look the same, like the same shape, the same knobs. And then I looked at them more closely, and I realized they don't look similar. They're exactly identical. So like this is a picture. No offense to any of these companies, they're it's great if you want to buy it from a U.S. company, but it's literally the knobs, everything is exactly the same as ours, except this one doesn't even have an oxygen tank included. So you have to buy this separately. So that's an extra cost. I've looked for like repairs and refunds and stuff on these websites, and almost, I mean, every time I've seen a website for one of these, they say we don't do repairs and we don't do refunds. So I I mean, maybe if it's like damaged when it gets there, they'll try to do what they can, but it's like they're just ordering this stuff from China too, and then they're just marking it up and then delivering it to your house. So I have nothing against these companies. They're doing their thing. That's what they're doing. But like this company is selling the exact same machine we bought, and they're selling it for $44,900, and that's without from what a picture shows, it's without an oxygen tank. So you have to buy that too. And then if there's taxes or whatever, maybe there's shipping for this from Ohio or Texas or Florida or wherever this company is. You still got to get it to your house. So I don't know. It could end up being about $50,000, but we only paid $30,000. But we had to do the work. We had to. So like, I just went straight to like I saw the Joe Rogan talking about it, and then he talked about a certain MMA fighter, UFC fighter, and then I went to that UFC fighter's YouTube page, and he bought one of these, and he said that Macy Pan is the company. So I just searched Macy Pan, and then went to macypan.com, and it's just this is the website for the company, and then there's an email and a phone number, but I don't speak Chinese, so I emailed them and they emailed me back, and we worked it out, and then it took a few months to get all the ship because you have to ship it on a freight, and it's 800 pounds, and so it took about 2 or 3 months, but we got it all done, and all said and done, it was under $30,000. So um, I was really happy that these people, the salespeople, were just so nice. Like I would send them an email and they would respond in like 2 or 3 minutes. So I would I would be lucky if I bought it from a U.S. company. I'd lucky to get an email back in 2 or 3 days, or maybe a week or 2 or 10 days. So I was pleasantly really happy um, with the service from the company. They're just like top notch. And even with a 25% tariff when you buy it from China, if it's 7 times less, 6 or 7 times less, and you add 25%, it's still no comparison with price. So as long as it comes in the mail and it works, and they always check up on me like, hey, does everything work? You happy? Everything good? And it's like, I don't even expect that from a U.S. company. I'd be lucky to get an AI chatbot or an automated phone system. You know what I mean? Not a real person actually checking up on everything, making sure it's good. And if I have a question, they answer it in a real way within a few minutes usually. So it was an awesome experience. And I was just thinking, like, I've got these messages from my sisters and my friend and our friends from church and everything, and Bible studies, and it's like, okay, I put together this plan to treat my son for brain damage, but is this crazy? Like, am I crazy? I'm like giving him fish oil and vitamins, and then putting him in this hyperbaric chamber every a few times a week, and it's like, am I just totally crazy, and nobody, like anybody who would see me would think that, what are you doing? You're so stupid. Why did you do that? But then I found somebody that did that. So if I'm crazy, I'm not the only one. So here's somebody who did the same thing.
Got the worst case of PTSD I've ever seen. Miraculous and great remedy for it, which was to eat a bunch of fish oil, vitamin B complex, and get into a hyperbaric chamber for 40 sessions. But make sure you do at least 2 or 3 a week.
Ah.
It fixed my head.
So, so if I'm crazy for doing this treatment for my son's brain, then I'm not the only crazy one. Mel Gibson is also did that to heal his brain. So I didn't know if there was a name for this kind of treatment, but I have officially dubbed it the Mel Gibson brain treatment. So there you go. That's the treatment we're giving our son right now. So and like you can go on YouTube and search for Macy Pan, like whatever one you want to buy. You know, I this is the two atmospheres is the best one I think for medical. Like anything less than two atmospheres, like 1.3, 1.5, 1.7, that's more for cosmetic, like for you to feel better, or for people who are professional athletes after a workout. It helps them recover faster so they can get back on the court faster, or whatever, the football field or a soccer field, whatever. And, it's for professional athletes. But like, and then if you go above 2.0, then you have to have a doctor. You have to have a prescription. You have to be monitored by a doctor because it can be dangerous if you fall asleep and you're in there too long or whatever, and you don't know all the protocols. But 2.0 atmospheres is the perfect medium where it has to be a hard shell. Um, and it's not, the cost is higher than most people can afford. And so that's why we did the GoFundMe. But if we were to go to a clinic and they have these set up, it's like $150 a day. And he might need these treatments for 10, 12 years. And so that could add up to be, 100, $200,000. So $30,000 isn't that bad for something that we can keep using for, as long as he needs it. So I was happy with it, with the results. And so let me show you a little clip of him. So this is a photo of our kids, and this is Kale there on the left. Just after a couple weeks of his hyperbaric treatment, just a huge smile on his face. I tell you what, I mean, you think when you're close to someone, you spend a lot of time with them every day, you wouldn't be able to see the incremental improvements that much. But I tell you, I can see huge improvements every time he does the treatment. And so the treatments are 5 to 6 times per week for 8 weeks, and then you have to take a break for 4 weeks before you start another treatment. So we did one full 8-week treatment, and then this is a video clip of Kale after his first treatment was done. What's happening, Kale? Playing? Huh? Kale, what's happening, bud? What? Are you serious? Are you serious? What are you so happy about, huh? And now you can see he's just a new person. It's like I can officially say we have our son back. He came back to us. He can't talk yet, but he's trying. He really is trying. And that was just after the first 8 weeks, the first treatment, the 40 sessions. And each session is between 60 and 90 minutes. And so we started at the low end and we're building our way up to the higher amount of time, to the max time. So the max time you can do without a doctor prescription is 90 minutes a day, 6 days a week for 8 weeks. That's one full treatment. And then you have to take a month off. So that's standard. It's medical grade, but it's not prescription grade if you keep everything at this level. So we're just going to do the max that we can do without having to hire a doctor to watch us do it. So praise the Lord. And so there's a lot of things that are happening that I just really like some of these people that are doing these podcasts and trying to get out as much of the information as possible so that we can make informed decisions. And so Candace Owens is a really good one. At first I was just listening to RFK Jr. and whoever he endorsed. And now I found Candace Owens, and this is really good. He's talking to someone.
So Gloria Steinem is of the feminist leader. She is of the opinion that women are being held to an unreasonable standard of beauty, and that was causing a lot of people to come down with anorexia, and to present with anorexia. And so she was saying that 150,000 women a year were dying from this. And it turns out the real number was 100. Now, I don't mean 100,000. I mean 100. But you hear 150,000, you think, wow, we have to take action. And that is a quote unquote progressive pattern. They make up a number like Mitch Snyder. Now, homelessness does seem to be a pretty big problem these days in the cities. But in the 80s, when everybody said there were 3 million homeless, that didn't come from somebody walking around with a clipboard and keeping an eye on things. That was Mitch Snyder, homeless advocate, who said, well, I had to get people's attention. So he made up the 3 million. So this just happens over and over and over again. And then in terms of the vaccine, so now I'll just tell you, I'm over 50 at this point. And when you're a man and you're 50, one of the things they tell you when you go see the doctor is, hey, you are eligible now for the shingles vaccine. You should consider getting the shingles vaccine. Now, I'm going to be honest enough with you, Candace, to say that if this had been 5 years ago, I would have rolled up my sleeve and said, yeah, go ahead. I mean, like, whatever. But now I feel like I can't trust anything these SOBs tell me. So
that's just a little insight into scrutinizing public officials and how they manipulate data and just, oh, but we had to say it because we want to keep everybody in line because that's more orderly that way. And you know what? Pound sand, you know? So I found some people. I'm like, there's some people that they go on TV and they get paid, $2 million and $1 million, or just these movie stars just go on TV and say, everybody knows vaccines don't cause autism. What do you mean everybody knows? There's no, where's the studies? Why not? And I'll tell you exactly why there isn't studies, and it's a specific reason. It's on purpose. And you might think I'm crazy, but wait a few minutes and I'll show you. The government did something that screwed over 2 of our generations. But there's this guy, this little known actor, and he's talking about his view on medical authorities and if we should look into things ourselves or just trust what they say. And this guy's name is like Jim Carré. I think he's French or something. Jim Carré. Let's see what he has to say.
Yesterday, the world was World Autism Awareness Day. You both must be encouraged by all that's happened in this subject since you literally started it.
Yeah, we've come a long way within the community. When I first had Evan diagnosed with autism, there wasn't much of anything. I had to find out about biomedical treatment on the internet after I typed in autism on Google. And out 3 years later now, there's 3 books and many thousands of children getting better because of biomedical treatment.
Jenny brought so much focus to this problem. And kind of that's why I'm here, is I want to bring as much focus as we can to this problem.
You married autism. Or, well, you're not married, so you live with autism.
When I invited Jenny into my life, I invited Evan into my life. And when I first met Evan, it was like he was on another planet. I wasn't in the room. There was no eye contact. There was no response to dialogue. There was no affection. And over time, I witnessed Jenny pull Evan through the window of unconsciousness and isolation into our world, where he is now a fully functioning person who can communicate, who can connect, and this is through biomedical treatments, GFCF diet, and the therapies that she's talking about. So I believe that autism, in my heart, is preventable
and treatable.
Fully functional.
He's completely recovered, Larry, completely recovered. And he's not the only one. There are thousands in this community that are getting better.
Why did you go so public? I mean, you had an autistic child. He got better. So why are you here?
I could have, hid and not said anything, and Evan would have blended into society. I made a pact with God, though. The day Evan became diagnosed with autism, I said, if you show me the way, God, and show me how to heal my boy, I will continue to teach the world how I did it. And within 1 year of that kind of conversation with God, Evan was undiagnosed from autism.
But it's still shocking to see how many people are ignoring this information.
The AAP, by the way, has still yet to...
What's that?
The American Academy of Pediatrics, I begged and have sat down with and said, why are you not sitting down with our doctors and our scientists who are treating and recovering children with autism? And they refuse.
I'll tell you exactly why. It's because of a law that was passed. Let me just show you a little clip here.
To understand how unique vaccines are and what happens to a product when it is granted legal indemnity.
Yeah, the impact of giving vaccines, if we're going to focus in on vaccines, the impact of giving vaccines immunity for liability for injuries, meaning the companies that sell them, those participate in injecting them, has an incredible and extraordinary effect. And I think it creates a market distortion that really puts vaccines in a unique box vis-a-vis any other product out there, okay? When you think about products on the market, whether they're planes, cars, drugs, chainsaws, knives, anything out there, how do they become safer? Why are they put to market? Why does the company care that they're safe? Why does the company properly test them before they go to market? Why is the company watching safety after market? Because at the end of the day, companies have an economic interest to make money. That is what their fiduciary duty is to their shareholders. When you see class action securities lawsuits and they're suing the board members and they're suing the CEO and they're suing the company, what's it about? It's about the fact that the company didn't take appropriate actions to protect their assets, to make appropriate profits. They breached fiduciary duties. That is what will drive corporations' conduct. So when you take away the fundamental manner in which we assure products safety, economic interests of a company, you get a very, very different result. And you can see that clearly, for example, with the contrast between how drugs are clinical trialed versus vaccines are clinical trialed. That drug manufacturers, they want to know before their drug goes to market whether that product's safe, because if it does, and it hurts 1 million people, well, they're going to end up upside down very quickly on making money on that drug. With vaccines, they don't have to worry about it in most parts of the world, actually, and the United States in particular, because they can't be sued for the most part for injuries caused by vaccines. And I'm not just talking about COVID vaccines. I'm talking about most vaccines, and I can explain to you how that happened, and I can even show you a chart that compares the trials between drugs and vaccines if you'd like.
Yes, I would like to see that. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Well, I'll start with, where did the immunity to vaccines even come from? And a lot of people say to me, there are conspiracies around vaccines, and it's, I don't think there's some kind of really, you don't have to go into some crazy thought patterns about vaccines to get to a dark place. To understand the problem with vaccines, you just have to understand basic economics, in my opinion. Okay. So in the early 1980s in the United States and in most parts of the world, there were only 3 routine vaccines: DTP, MMR, and OPV. That's it. That's all there was. 7 total injections. That was the sum total of our childhood schedule and of the adult schedule and of the pregnancy schedule, since there were no adult routine vaccines and there were no pregnancy vaccines back then. And what was happening was every manufacturer of those 3 products either stopped making them or went out of business because of the injuries, because of the financial liability that was occurring from the injuries caused by those products. Now, for any other product, when it hurts people, what does a company have to do? Make a better, safer product. Your plane falls out of the sky, make a better plane. Your drug hurts people, make a better drug, right? But in this instance, Congress, in its wisdom, decided, United States Congress decided, instead of forcing them to do what every other company has to do, instead of letting the economic interest do what it does, make a better product. Instead, it said, you know what? You can keep selling your product that's harming kids. We're just going to give you immunity so nobody can sue you. And Congress passed the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act of 1986 that basically gave these manufacturers immunity. But
Oh, no. That's a conspiracy theory. There's no law that makes it legal to harm children with vaccines. That's absurd. No way. I'm gonna look at this. I'm gonna go to the okay, I'm here on the government website, Congress website. Holy crud. National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act of 1986. That's what he just talked about. This is a real law that they passed. Um, and Ronald Reagan signed it into law. This is a bill. And he even shows, like, this is the government website, congress.gov. You can see all um, the representatives in the House of Representatives that voted to have this, that were on this committee to get this bill passed and turn it into a law. There's 19 Democrats, 4 Republicans. You can see where they're from, what their names are, everything. 1986. But why would they do this? This is so stupid. Okay, so I have thought about this. I'm just kind of joking around with you guys, but so there's two things. One is the name, and then one is how did they get passed? And then one is the name is like, okay, National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. That's a law. So that can't be what it says in the name. Like they back in the 80s, they weren't really good at naming laws like they are when they after 9/11, like the Patriot Act. And then it's like we're gonna have immunity to spy at anybody we want, whenever we want, however we want, like, but it's the Patriot Act. Like they were good at naming things in the 2000s. But back in the 80s, they were terrible at naming things. And you might think, no, this can't be right. That can't be the actual name. Like, or maybe it's like a reverse psychology thing. Like, the National Institute for Cancer. It's not, the name. If you don't think about it the right way, it's like, oh, it might sound like they're trying to give people cancer, but I'm not going to go into that yet right now. But a different day maybe. But it sounds like a weird name, like they're harming people, but it's really like a national institute to try to cure cancer, supposedly. And so maybe it's like that. Maybe it's like they're trying to stop vaccine injuries. No, I looked into all the information, the whole law. Like it literally is what the name says. It's so stupid. It's literally making it legal to harm children with vaccines. And what happens 3 years after this law gets passed? The amount of vaccines for children goes up by 8 times. So instead of making $1 billion a year, they're making $8 billion a year. And then as inflation grows and they add more and more vaccines, now they're making like just tens of billions of dollars every year. And they can never get sued. No one can ever come after them if they harm people. Um, it's just so silly. And so how did it get passed through the Congress and then the Senate vote and then the President Ronald Reagan signed it into law? How did all that happen if it's so crazy, stupid law? This thing has devastated our health of our kids for the last 40 years. And it's like, so I'm not like a war historian or anything or like a really, history buff, but I know back in those days there was this thing called the Cold War. So after World War II, and then we dropped the nukes, 2 nukes on Japan, and everybody was crazy about nukes. Like, and then Russia had a bunch of nukes, and the United States had a bunch of nukes, and they had a red button, we had a red button, and it was like this big standoff. Like, if you press your red button, we're gonna press our red button, and then all hundreds of nukes will go into the air, and then they'll all rain down on the whole world, almost the whole world, and then we'll be able to shoot half of them out of the sky, but then the other half will get through, and then boom, everybody's dead or turned into mutant zombies. And so that was called the Cold War. It was just everybody staring each other down, holding red buttons. And I guess that's what they did back then. And maybe it's not much different today. Who knows? But and I think that people were so paranoid during that time of like from the Cold War. They were like so like just stressed out. And then these people would come in and say like, "Oh, if you don't, these vaccine companies are going to go out of business." And they didn't stop to think about should they go out of business or should they mandate that they make safer products and do more research before they release vaccines. But they're like, well, we have to keep these companies in business because if they all go out of business, we're not going to have any vaccines, and then Russia's going to drop a dirty bomb on us and kill us all, and we won't have any vaccines to save us. Guess what? That's a load of crud. Vaccines are not going to save. If Russia drops a dirty bomb on us, or anybody drops a decent dirty bomb on us, look at COVID. We even came up with a vaccine within a couple of years, and it was a disaster. Vaccines, if there's a real dirty bomb, vaccines are not going to save us. They're not going to be our savior, okay? So we don't need to destroy the health of multiple generations of kids because we're getting rid of the science and the studies for them because we want to keep these vaccine companies in business. Look, uh, it should be the opposite. We should want the most healthy vaccines, the most studies, the most safe things, and for good reason. Because if let's say we're trying to counteract some kind of disease like COVID or the next whatever comes along or dirty bomb, it's like, do we want good science for that? Yes. We don't want horrible studies or no studies. That's ridiculous. But they didn't understand. I don't think they understood what they were doing. Um, and I don't think Ronald Reagan. I think he was under a lot of pressure, and this Cold War thing was so much stress on people that it was making people literally go insane. I mean, look at people like Mitch McConnell. I mean, that guy. I think he is just has so much PTSD from the Cold War that he doesn't even know what's going on anymore. I think he's been through a lot of wars, and I think he even fought in the Civil War. But it's just that guy. If anybody deserves a retirement, it's that guy. I say let him go to the beach. But anyways, but it's like you gotta be saying, oh, I think some of you might be saying it's like this is ridiculous. You don't know what you're talking about. This would have been all over the news. We would have studies and inquisitions every year. No, it's not because they're making so much money. It's the only thing in the world that you can't bring them to court and sue them. It's the only thing that you can harm people legally uh, uh, outside of war, which that this is the way these politicians think. They think of everything in terms of war. It's ridiculous. And like you might say, "Oh, you just don't know how the government works." No, I know how the government works. I saw Schoolhouse Rock. Okay, I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill, and I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. Oh yeah, I'm gonna let those vaccine companies harm all our children. Ooh. They can make 50 or 60 billion dollars a year and never get sued. Oh, my name is HR 5546. I'm the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act of 1986. So it's a real thing. Look it up if you want. So, this is that same guy, Aaron Siri. He's been interviewed by a lot of people, a lot of podcasters that I respect. Um, and he's the main person that will take people to court, vaccine companies to court when they harm children. So he works a lot with RFK and that whole group, that all my heroes. So he's adding to my bunch of heroes. And these are some litigations that he brought up. He found the world's, or at least the United States, which is kind of like the leader in the world of vaccine safety authorities, and so he did a litigation, so they had to answer his questions.
This is an excerpt from the IOM's report,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Can you read the causality conclusion with regard to whether DTaP and Tdap cause autism?
The evidence is inadequate to accept or reject a causal relationship between diphtheria toxoid, tetanus toxoid, or acellular pertussis containing vaccine and autism.
If you don't know whether DTaP or Tdap cause autism, shouldn't you wait until you do know, until you have the science to support it, to then say that vaccines do not cause autism?
Do I wait? No, I do not wait, because I have to take into account the health of the child.
Oh, really? So to keep the child healthy, you have to lie to them and tell them that the medicines are safe when you don't know if they're safe to keep them safe. Oh, it makes perfect sense. Oh, wow. I'm just an idiot. And this is the second most authority on vaccine safety.
Okay. According to your profile, you have done most of the pivotal trials relied upon to license many of the vaccines, correct, on the market?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you're highly experienced at conducting clinical trials, correct?
I'm highly experienced conducting clinical trials.
And you're familiar with many of the clinical trials that relied upon to license many of the vaccines currently on the market, correct?
I am.
In your opinion, did the clinical trials relied upon to license the vaccines that Yates received, many of which are still on the market today, were they designed to rule out that the vaccine
I just gotta say, I love her necklace. It's so cool. Just gotta say that.
causes autism?
No. You've badgered me into answering the question the way you want me to, but I think that that's probably the answer.
Is that your accurate and truthful testimony?
Yes.
In the expert disclosures for this case, it asserts that, among other things, you will testify that, quote, the issue of whether vaccines cause autism has been thoroughly researched and rejected, end quote. It's your testimony that MMR vaccine cannot cause autism.
That's correct.
It's your testimony that Hep B vaccine cannot cause autism.
That's correct.
It's your testimony that iPol cannot cause autism.
Yes.
It's your testimony that Hib vaccine cannot cause autism.
Yes.
Your testimony that varicella vaccine cannot cause autism.
Yes.
It's your testimony that Prevnar vaccine cannot cause autism.
Yes.
And it's your testimony that DTaP vaccine cannot cause autism.
Yes.
And do you have a study that supports that DTaP doesn't cause autism?
I do not have a study that DTaP causes autism. So I don't have either.
Do you have any study one way or another of whether iPol causes autism?
No, I do not, sir.
Do you have any study one way or another of whether NGRX B causes autism?
I do not have any evidence that it causes autism, nor that it does not.
And what about Hib titers vaccine? Any evidence one way or another of whether it causes autism?
No.
And what about Prevnar vaccine? Any evidence one way or another?
No, sir. No, sir.
And how about varicella vaccine? Let me just finish. Are there any studies one way or another that support whether it does or doesn't cause autism?
Part of MMR, but not as varicella by itself. No, sir. No studies that say it does, or no studies that say it doesn't.
Right. There have been studies that have found an association between hepatitis B vaccine and autism, correct?
Not studies that I feel are credible.
Okay. Which study are you referring to when you say that?
Well, why don't you show me the study, and then I'll see whether I agree with it.
That's a
Show me the study, and I'll tell you whether I agree. Okay, I just want you to know just to bring up and make it clear what is going on here, you know, all those high-tech vaccine studies for safety of our kids that are happening throughout the years. Do you know who's doing those studies? This chick is doing those studies. Do you want her to be the authority and on the safety of your children? It's your choice. I mean, if you're happy with the way things have been going, you can do it. It's fine. And, you know, sometimes I just I just talk to my old buddy Akam, you know, and I'm like, hey, what's the simple answer for all this crap, you know? And I mean, yeah, you go back to people were afraid of the Russians, and you know they have these ideologies, and we have to have all these companies, medical companies, and we have to keep them alive, bail them out, and keep them no matter what they do wrong, you know, because we need it's for our national security. Everything is for security. Doesn't matter how many people we kill or destroy their brains. It's for our security and your kids' safety. When we destroy them and we destroy your family, it's for your own good. Um, you know, and Akam just tells me once in a while, he's like, "Hey, look, just look at the money. Just follow the money." And so I do. And there's this guy named Travis Kelsey. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he got paid $20 million to do a few commercials for Pfizer promoting vaccines. And you know what? That surprised me. Not that it's a high amount, but that it's a low amount. $20 million is nothing. Nothing to these people. They're rolling in billions and billions of dollars every year. $20 million to normalize vaccine safety by paying off the boyfriend of the most famous person in the world, that is low. He should have asked for 50 million at least. I'm disappointed in Travis Kelsey. But that should just tell you everything you need to know. You just follow the money and you'll find out where the corruption is. It's every time. Um, and maybe the beginning of it started as a good idea, like, oh yeah, we gotta fend off those nasty Russians. They're just so bad, just so evil, you know, because they're trying to defend their own country and they don't want people to, you know, take them over. And that's weird because that's what we do too. And they have nukes. Oh yeah, we do too. Oh yeah. So whatever. I don't know. I have never been to Russia. I don't know if I will. Maybe I will. I don't know. But I don't want our government to hire people like that lady and that other guy to be our vaccine safety experts. Um, 'Cause I don't think they're doing a very good job. So I'm glad RFK Jr. is in the position to hire and fire the right people to create better safety and regulations um, around our food, our medicines, our vaccines, whatever category you put those in. It seems like they're in their own category in the stratosphere. It's like a religion to a lot of people because I think I've been thinking about this a lot, and I plan on saying this, but I do want to say it because I think it's deeper. I think I've noticed that a lot of people who are vaccine experts are atheists. And I'm not saying every single person. I don't know all of them personally. I just, when I hear them interviewed or whatever, it's like, it seems like every time they talk about any kind of faith, the highest level of vaccine experts are, I always see them say they're atheists. And when you kick God out of your heart, it leaves a big opening there. Uh, um, it leaves a big opening in your spirit, in your soul, like for something to fill it. And I think when you totally reject God and uh, as a person and as having a relationship and as your creator, you're always looking for something like, oh, I need this cause to fight for so I can feel good about myself and fill that hole in my soul that where I kicked God out of. And that's my opinion. I think that's the real root of this is that people take up causes that they think are noble, and vaccines for some reason is one of these causes. It's just a medicine. It's like Tylenol or Pepto-Bismol. It's like penicillin is the best medicine ever invented. It saved tons of lives, and I don't know of any side effects. And that's fine. I'm not against medicines. You know, people use all kinds of medicines. But if there's a chance that it's hurting people, and if all the vaccine companies were about to go out of business in the early 1980s, maybe there's a reason they were about to go out of business. I'm just saying. I'm just spitballing. So I wanna leave you guys on a high note. I don't like to keep everything doom and gloom and negative, but I mean I've started with a high note, so it's like a sandwich. It's like a high low sandwich. So started off with RFK getting into his position, Director of Health and Human Services. We talked about a bunch of crap in the middle, and then now I want to leave you with a nice song, and so it's like a big old crud sandwich, big poop sandwich, but the buns are really good on the top and bottom. So I'm going through the different 12 stages or however many stages of grief there are when you have a severe loss in your life, and um, I think I'm about halfway through like number six. I'm on number 6 right now. But there's some times when it's like you just don't feel like getting out of bed in the morning, or you don't feel like ever going to bed or whatever. You just like, I got to do something about this. I got to help other families from having this happen to them. And you feel overwhelmed. And but then God comes through with RFK with a big old leading the charge. But this song, when I'm going through the stages of grief, this song really stuck out to me. It's like sometimes you just got to tell yourself to get up and keep going.
Tell your heart to beat again. Close your eyes and breathe it in. Let the shadows fall away. Step into the light of grace. Yesterday is a closing door. You don't live there anymore. Say goodbye to where you've been and tell your heart to beat